Guys, my name is Nonema Tigela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Guys, let's talk about this guy that Mncube dropped towards in the afternoon yesterday when he was busy with his testimony. Guys, I don't know if you guys noticed this or this is something that you perhaps like it jumped over your head, but let me take you back, okay? Because I really thought, excuse me, what are you saying right now? And that made Judge Rata very uncomfortable. I don't know. He was even smiling, very uncomfortable sitting there because Umncube was dealing with the situation. Now, here is what he said. Okay, before that, so let's talk about the arrest in 2015 for the current crime that he is serving time for in jail. The firearm examination, the cell phone download, the later Meyiwa investigation, and the way Ncube's present testimony interacts with the earlier evidence. Okay, the first thing to clarify is crucial. Ncube's bombshell is not simply that police found the gun in 2015. That was already established. The potential explosive part is his account of what happened to the firearm and cell phone after his arrest in February 2015, and whether the officers who initially or heard the information connecting him to the Meyiwa murder. The state's evidence gives us a very important timeline against which his version can be tested. Okay, now the 2015 bombshell timeline is the key. All right. Ncube was arrested on the 9th of February 2015 in connection with a separate taxi-related matter. Sergeant Mandla Masondo testified that his team was investigating the murder of Alexandra taxi boss Reggie Muhlala, not Senzo Meyiwa. During that operation, police found a 9mm CZ pistol, ammunition, and Ncube's Samsung cell phone. The cell phone was not merely seized and forgotten. Masondo testified that it was booked in for downloading because investigators wanted to use its contents to place Ncube at the Alexandra crime scene and identify an alleged accomplice. That becomes extremely important because the phone subsequently became a major part of the Meyiwa case. Colonel Lumbetas Steyn later testified that the cell phone was downloaded after the 2015 arrest and that photographs recovered from it show Ncube with dreadlocks and clothing allegedly matching descriptions of the suspect in the Meyiwa investigation. But there is an important chronological distinction. Steyn testified that the officer investigating the 2015 case 962-2015 matter was not aware that at that stage that the phone had a connection to the Meyiwa murder. Steyn said the Meyiwa investigation only came to him in April 2020 when Brigadier Bongani Gininda handed him cell phone downloads as a Section 205 request. That is the pressure point. Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Now, Ncube's version versus the state's paper trail. If Ncube is saying, the police who arrested me in the 2015 investigated me for the Senzo Meyiwa murder, then that allegation needs to be separated into two questions. Question one, did police investigate Ncube in 2015? Absolutely yes, but initially for a different matter. Masondo's evidence is that his unit was investigating the Alexandra taxi-related matter and traced Ncube to Cleveland or Melvin. The firearm was seized during that investigation. So nobody can credibly say Ncube's firearm and cell phone were never investigated in 2015. They were. Second question, was the 2015 investigation already a Senzo Meyiwa investigation? This is much more contentious. The state's 2023 evidence says the original investigation was the Alexandra matter and that the Meyiwa connection came later. In fact, Masondo was specifically asked whether the firearm had anything to do with the Vosloorus or Meyiwa case. His answer was effectively that nothing at that stage indicated such a connection. He said that if it had been connected, he believed he would have dealt with it then. That is seriously important for evaluating Ncube's present testimony. Now, the bombshell, but then comes another firearm problem. Here is where things get more interesting. The firearm was examined in connection with the 2015 Cleveland matter. According to the state's ballistic evidence, the later Meyiwa investigation used the earlier ballistic testing done on the firearm and compared it with the projectile recovered from the Meyiwa crime scene. Mangena ultimately testified that the projectile recovered at the Meyiwa scene had been fired from the firearm found in Mncube's possession. But here is a nuclear problem. The firearm did not immediately become a Meyiwa exhibit. It remained in the SAPS exhibit system. And according to Captain Bonginkosi Mtshali's evidence, an instruction was eventually issued in 2017 for the firearm to be destroyed, forfeited because the Cleveland matter had been concluded. Think about that. 2015 gun recovered from Mncube, 2015 firearm examined, 2017 instruction to destroy or forfeit it. 2020, okay, before we go to 2020, do you think that in 2017 the firearm destruction was going to have the firearm destruction instruction was going to come if this firearm was involved in any other crime? Nope, it was never going to come. 2020 firearm suddenly becomes important to the Meyiwa investigation. That is a spectacular evidential timeline. Now, there were reports that the firearm was supposed to be destroyed in 2017, but remained in storage because of procedural requirements concerning a firearm whose serial number had been filed off. In 2020, it was booked out for further ballistic examination and subsequently became part of the Meyiwa investigation. But I still say, I don't think it was going to be put away if it had anything to do with the crime or any other crime back then. Now, let's put Mncube's testimony on top of that. This is where his evidence potentially becomes far more significant than simply saying the police had my gun. His testimony, as we are listening to it, it is saying to us, is essentially raising a prior investigation theory. Police had his firearm and his cell phone in 2015. Those items were investigated. Therefore, if the state now says those same items only became relevant to Meyiwa in 2020, the defense can ask what happened between 2015 to 2020. That is the real bombshell, because the defense doesn't necessarily have to prove that Masondo personally knew Mncube killed Meyiwa in February 2015 when he arrested him. It can instead attack the integrity of the investigative timeline. Now, the cell phone may be even more important than the gun. The firearm establishes a physical chain. The cell phone establishes a digital investigative chain. Police had Mncube's cell phone in 2015. They downloaded it, and the contents later became some of the state's important circumstantial evidence against him. The phone allegedly contained photographs of Mncube with dreadlocks, photographs showing clothing allegedly matching descriptions of the suspect, photographs of firearms, the infamous image described as my killing machine, other images subsequently relied upon by the state. That means the defense has legitimate forensic question. Who first discovered what? Was the photograph discovered during the 2015 investigation? Was it merely stored on the phone in 2015? Was it downloaded in 2015? Was it examined in detail in 2015? Who had access to the original download? Was the original extraction preserved? Was the material later supplied to the Meyiwa team? When did Gininda first see it? And critically, was anything altered, re-downloaded, reinterpreted, or selectively presented after 2020? Those questions matter because the state's own evidence places the major Meyiwa analysis much later. Now, the 2020 Gininda connection. This is perhaps the strongest piece of chronology against which Mncube's evidence must be tested. Steyn testified that he started working on the Meyiwa case in April 2020 when Gininda supplied him with cell phone downloads and Section 205. Gininda specifically asked Steyn whether photographs recovered from Mncube's phone showed him with dreadlocks. That suggests a very important distinction. The phone existed in police possession in 2015, but the forensic interpretation of those images as Meyiwa evidence appears on the state's account to have happened much later, that distinction is absolutely critical. And now look at the firearm, okay? There is another extraordinary coincidence. The state says the firearm was already in police custody from 2015. The firearm had already undergone examination, yet the state case ultimately depend on a later comparison between that firearm and Meyiwa projectile. And the gun was apparently almost destroyed before the Meyiwa investigation reclaimed it. Now, the reports that the firearm had an instruction for destruction dating back to 2017 and was only diverted into the Meyiwa investigation in 2020. Some Mncube's evidence is potentially opens this line of attack. If the firearm was already in SAP's custody and had already been examined, why wasn't the Meyiwa connection made earlier? That does not automatically mean the police fabricated connection, okay? But something is wrong here. There is something very wrong here. It creates a question about when the connection was actually made and by whom and how. Now, the 2015 firearm testing is a huge distinction. The point should not be lost in sensationalism, okay? The 2015 testing did not, according to the evidence reported from the trial, establish that the firearm had killed Meyiwa. The later Meyiwa ballistic comparison did, the 2021, okay? That means there were effectively two investigative phases. Phase 1, 2015, firearm recovered from Mncube, firearm investigated in the Cleveland Alexandra matter, cell phone downloaded for that investigation, no established Meyiwa connection according to Masondo or Stein's account for 2015. Phase 2, 2020, Geninda's Meyiwa investigation revisits the material. Mncube's cell phone becomes significant. The firearm is retrieved for further ballistic work. The firearm is compared with the Meyiwa projectile. The state says they match. That is much more what, who's this guy? Mangena is saying, the description of this entire history. Now, if the police investigated Mncube for Meyiwa in 2015, why didn't they find this connection back in 2015? Why? Now, where Mncube can really damage the state case is in his testimony is supported. If his testimony is supported by documentary evidence, the most damaging proposition isn't necessarily Masondo knew I killed Senzo. That is a very difficult proposition to establish, okay? The more powerful proposition is the state's own evidence shows that police possessed the critical physical and digital evidence against me years before the alleged breakthrough in the Meyiwa investigation. That raises several questions. Why wasn't Mncube charged in the Meyiwa case in 2015? He wasn't, most right? Why? And Mncube, now the bombshell that I'm saying he dropped is that he says Umasondo no Dlamini actually said, did you have anything to do with the Senzo Meyiwa matter? He said no. They said to him, actually, we will check. Your cell phone will tell us and the firearm will tell us. They went on and checked. Hence, Masondo had the audacity to say, if this firearm had anything to do with the Senzo Meyiwa matter, I would have known back in 2015. Secondly, why wasn't the firearm immediately linked to the Meyiwa crime? The state says the relevant comparison occurred later. The question is, why was the projectile not inside the system so that when firearms come through, then the projectile will link whichever way or connect, okay? Thirdly, why was the firearm almost destroyed if it had other cases? Because the original Cleveland matter had been concluded and the destruction procedure had begun. So if the firearm had anything to do with Senzo Meyiwa, why was it sent for destruction? Why was the cell phone analyzed in 2014? Because police were investigating a separate Alexandra matter, and they also said, we will see if you have nothing to do with the Senzo Meyiwa. Why was there no connection then? And when did the Meyiwa investigators first obtain their cell phone material? Stein places his involvement in the Meyiwa analysis in 2020. So what was happening from 2015 to 2020? 2015, February to April 2020, what was happening? Why was there any investigation that brought serious Dondon? Who made the decision to revisit Mnube's material? The state's evidence points to Gininda's investigation. Okay, Gininda all the time. What exactly did the original 2015 download contain? That is a very critical question. And now the warrant issue. Masondo considered during the cross-examination that police did not have a search warrant when they searched Mnube's home. That does not automatically mean the firearm evidence is inadmissible. South African courts don't simply exclude evidence every time police violate a procedural requirement. The constitutional and statutory consequences have to be assessed, but it gives the defense another route. What was the legal basis for the search? What exactly was seized? Who handled it? When was it booked into SEP 13? What tests were performed? What reports were generated? Where are the original reports? Who had access to the firearm? What happened between 2015 and 2020? Those are not cosmetic questions. They go directly to reliability. Now, the biggest contradiction to hand, here is the question I would put at everything else, at the center of everything. If Mnube's firearm and cell phone were already in police custody or police hands in 2015, why does the state Meyiwa investigation appear to discover their significance only years later? That is the question that I have. Anyway, what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Let's talk comment section. That is the bombshell that I saw when it comes to Mnube's evidence yesterday. Let's talk comment section. I want to hear your views. Bye-bye.